Welcome to the Raise Your Energy podcast. My name is Linda Lange and I'm your host and energy expert. Today we are diving into a question that could change the way you approach your spiritual journey or life in general. And the question is, are you ready to read A Course in Miracles? Now, you've maybe heard of this book, maybe a friend mentioned it, or it's been even sitting on your shelf for quite a while, quietly calling your name. Perhaps you even opened it and read it a few times and put it down again, feeling overwhelmed, confused, or just not ready. And that's okay. A Course in Miracles isn't just any book. It's a spiritual commitment, and one that asks you to see the world and yourself in a completely new way. So how do you know if you're ready? Today we will explore this question together, whether you're curious, hesitant, or just simply intrigued. This episode is for you. Before we go any further, let me be clear. In this episode, we're not going to dive into the content of A Course in Miracles. But I do have an announcement at the end of the episode that will give you the ultimate chance to dive into this book together with me. But in this episode, we're talking about the experience of reading it, the highs, the struggle, and why, for so many, it's unlike anything you've ever encountered. This book isn't just read, it's lived. At first, it can feel like a monumental struggle. Its language is really dense, its ideas are radical, and it often challenges the way you see everything. But here's the thing, if you stick with it, there comes a moment, a shift, when the struggle transforms into one of the most profound and liberating experiences of your spiritual awakening. By the end of this episode, you will understand why this book inspires such devotion, why it's so challenging, and most importantly, whether you are ready to embark on this journey. I actually just checked it now. I ordered A Course in Miracles in April 2023, which means it's sitting on my shelf for over a year and a half. Looking back, I realized that ordering the book was my way of preparing myself, even though I wasn't consciously aware at the time. It wasn't until I opened it that I understood this is the moment I'm ready. And I've heard this story from so many other people before. They buy the book, they keep it at home, and only pick it up when something truly shifts inside of them. Maybe even something tragic happens. Some try to read it earlier, but it doesn't resonate, so they put it back on the shelf. And if that's you, just know it's perfectly okay. And maybe you've had friends that mentioned the book, and you've wondered what the fuss is about. If so, perhaps A Course in Miracles is waiting in the wings for you, ready to become a part of your life when the time is right. I truly believe the book opens up when you are ready, when your heart and mind align to receive it. And maybe, just maybe, listening to this episode is your sign. Or you might finish this episode and you say, oh, no, not for me. That's okay too. Trust that as divine guidance. It means there's a better time waiting for you to embark on this journey. Let's take a moment to talk about who actually wrote it and what it's all about. The book was first published in 1976, authored by 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 with the support of her colleague William Thetford. Helen and Bill had been in a conflict-ridden work relationship for years, until one day they decided to join in the common goal of demonstrating another way, a way for people to get along by cooperating instead of competing. And neither of them were religious, and yet them joining together invited into their relationship not only the Holy Spirit, but also the figure of Jesus, who initially appeared in Helen's inner visions and then began dictating A Course in Miracles to her. Whether you accept that idea or not, what's clear is that this text has a profound impact on countless spiritual seekers. The course is structured into 3 sections. First, there is the text, which is about a little bit more than a third of the book, and that provides the foundation of all the spiritual teachings. Then you have the workbook, which is another big chunk of the book for students who want to, really go deep into the teachings of it. And it has a lecture for every day for 365 days to help you implement those principles into your life. And then at the end, you have a little bit as well, a manual for teachers, kind of like a guide for those who feel called to share the course's teachings with others. So no matter how you view its origins, this book invites you into a transformative spiritual journey, one that challenges and redefines the way we see ourselves and the whole wild world around us. Now, let's talk about the things that might stop you from reading A Course in Miracles and why ultimately it didn't let them stop me. First, let's address the obvious. It's written in Christian language. If I had come across this book just a few years ago, I would have put it down immediately. The Christian terminology, words like Father, Son of God, and the use of a very, 100% male-centric language like his or him would have completely turned me off. But, as I said earlier, this book seems to come to you when you are ready. And when I finally picked it up, I realized that my readiness came from growing beyond my limiting beliefs, my likes and my dislikes, and any past judgments. I was suddenly open enough to let this language speak to me, to look as well past those words and connect with the deeper truths it's pointing at. At its core, A Course in Miracles teaches a non-dualistic spirituality centered on forgiveness and the belief that love is the ultimate reality. It reinterprets many traditional Christian ideas. For instance, it represents Jesus as not someone above us, but as an equal, a brother, just somebody who made a different decision, the decision for God. So for some, especially traditional Christians, this reinterpretation can feel challenging. But for me, it wasn't really about replacing or dismissing prior teachings when I started reading it. It was about deepening my understanding. It's about recognizing that this book is inviting us to see terms like Father or Son of God in a completely new light, beyond the surface meaning that we all have been somehow taught, into something much more universal and profound. What made me keep reading in the end was this indescribable feeling, and it's hard to put into words, but you feel it deep in your soul that what you are reading is truth with a capital T. Not just on a mental level, but on an all-encompassing knowing. It's as if the book itself speaks directly to your spirit, bypassing all the doubts in your mind. That's what kept me going. And if you ever feel this kind of pull for anything, I encourage you to follow it. So what happens when you're reading A Course in Miracles? Let me be clear, anything can happen. But one thing is certain, you will be challenged. This book will bring you face to face with your deepest fears, doubts and insecurities. It will literally shake your identity, challenge your belief systems, and most importantly, confront your ego. The ego, as described in the Course, believes it's the center of the universe. It views others as objects, as tools for its gratification, often at other people's expense. Under the ego's guidance, we seek to complete ourselves by taking from others, especially through the sense of specialness, being smarter, more powerful, or more beautiful than everyone else. If we are honest with ourselves, we all recognize this voice. We all have heard it inside here. It whispers constantly in our minds, telling us to be on guard, to compete, and to make others pay. But here's the truth. The ego is not our friend. While we might think it protects us or helps us survive, which is absolutely fine and it has this function, the Course teaches that the ego is always negative. It sends us chasing after love and happiness, but in a way it knows it will fail. And why? Because the ego thrives on turmoil. It's at war with the world, with God, and most painfully, with us, with ourselves. The ego doesn't make the world safer, it's what makes the world feel dangerous. The Course reminds us, however, that the ego isn't who we are. We are limitless beings, sons of God, who falsely believe we are imperfect humans. The ego is just a false belief, and its power comes entirely from us. We are giving it to it. We don't have to fight it or control it. We simply have to stop listening to it. That's a very good advice. So facing the ego through the Course isn't easy, but it's transformative. It's a journey toward discovering the truth of who we really are. Let me share with you how I've been reading the Course so far. I actually talked about this in an earlier episode. Back in September this year, I took one of my solo trips, a time I use for deeper inner work. So during these trips, I usually choose a book or a couple of books or a course to guide me through whatever I currently navigate through. And this time I decided it was finally the right time for this book, A Course in Miracles. It was the only thing I actually read throughout the whole trip. The experience was mind-blowing. It touched my soul on a level I've never experienced before with a book or with some other scripture or text or course or whatever. So many things became clear to me throughout reading the book in just this 1 week. And I've just actually gone through 100 pages at that point. But I'll be honest, it takes time. Often I have to read a sentence or a paragraph several times before I actually grasp what it means. And sometimes I don't even fully get it at all. And in those moments, I choose to trust that those parts weren't meant to make sense to me just yet. This isn't a book you can just read like any other self-help book or self-development book. It's not something to approach with your conscious mind, your analytical mind, but rather with your soul and your heart. There's no step-by-step process laid out for you. It's about awakening your spirituality, that deeper inner knowing. Even in just a few days, this text pulled so many veils from my eyes. It's still unbelievable. Unfortunately, since that week in September, I haven't made much progress in the book. I've read a few pages here and there, but I've come to realize that this book demands a deeper commitment than just sporadically reading a few pages. And that leads me to the announcement I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. I decided to go through the workbook and take you with me on this journey. The workbook of A Course in Miracles is a 1-year program in learning how to train the mind in a systematic way to a different perception of everything in the world. It consists of a series of daily exercises in which we first get in touch with our current perceptions and then choose a new way of looking at things. So I will share with you my experience going through that workbook. Each day and with each lesson, I will record my reflections of those lessons and what I have learned from them. It will provide you with my best understanding of the content and how it applies to my life or how I apply it to my life. At the same time that I will help you on this journey with the book, if you decide to come with me on this journey, I will deepen my understanding. But I'm very clear on this, that I am sharing a student experience as I'm going through the workbook and the rest actually of the text for the first time myself. What I won't be doing is putting too much pressure on myself on finishing the workbook all in 1 year. There will be days where it will be difficult for me to do the study, the recording for you, and then as well editing and uploading it in time. It might just take me a little bit longer than just a year, and that's okay for me. Obviously, you don't have to go through the workbook with me to get a lot out of the videos that I will be sharing with you as of the 1st of January 2025. But you might just be interested in the inspiration from the book and all of the insights that I can share from my own journey with it. But obviously, this is as well an invite for you to start the workbook along with me, if this is something that you have been thinking about for a while. Or maybe you have done it in the past and you are ready for another round of the workbook. I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done so, to follow my biggest commitment to spirituality that I have ever made. I might even do some monthly Q&A sessions live here on YouTube, where you can ask me specific questions or share your personal experiences with the course. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode of the Raise Your Energy podcast. I hope today's exploration of A Course in Miracles has given you some clarity and some insight, not only about the book itself, but also about whether you might be ready to embark on this transformative journey. As I've shared, this book is not just something you read. It's something you experience, and it can profoundly change the way you see yourself and the world. If this episode has resonated with you, or you feel that little nudge in your heart, perhaps now is the perfect time to begin or to prepare for your own journey with the course. One more time, don't forget to check out my YouTube channel and subscribe if you'd like to join me on my commitment to the workbook starting January the 1st. I'm excited to share my reflections and insights with you and to grow through this process. Until next time, keep raising your energy and following your inner guidance. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.